Hi, I'm Lynette and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 brands on the bubble. Now, I did a video about 5 brands that are on the glow up, and I did a video about 5 brands on the downturn, and today I'll be talking about 5 brands on the bubble. If you're interested in seeing the other 2 videos, I will have them linked down below. So what's the bubble? Well, the bubble is kind of like right here, kind of just in the middle. And in 2022, I'm interested to see if these brands are going to make any movement, and if so, in what direction. So if you like these types of videos, then please give it a like and consider subscribing, because I'm here every week with makeup hauls, tutorials, swatches, reviews, and other shenanigans. Now, in no particular order, brand number 1 is a brand that I've talked about before, but I'm talking about again because I'm really interested to see where this brand is going to go in 2022, and I'm still rooting for it, okay? And the brand is Coloured Raine. It's an independently Black-owned, female-owned brand, and they have never had an issue with quality. I think right out the gate some years ago, I don't know how long they've been in business now, but it's been a few years. And right out the gate, they had quality, good quality. They started off with singles and liquid lipsticks, and I have a few of the liquid lipsticks, a nice formula, Cherry Blossom, the perfect red, okay? And singles, their first collection of eyeshadow singles, I bought the whole collection. Really, really nice eyeshadow formula. And yeah, so quality has never been an issue with them. I think they have suffered from 3 problems. 1 being the price point, 2 being their lack of releases, and 3 being the types of releases. So in terms of the price point, their quality is great, their packaging is nice, but I think especially in the beginning, when you are competing, right, the makeup industry now is even more saturated, but when you're competing with a brand like Juvia's Place, which I like to equate the 2 for some reason, maybe because they're both indie, Black-owned, female brands that cater towards people of color. So when you have someone like Juvia's Place that is putting out quality makeup products as well, at a really affordable price, then you have Coloured Raine that's putting out similarly good quality products, but at a much higher price. It was hard for some people to swallow. I know it was hard for me to swallow. When they first came out with their eyeshadow palette, their first eyeshadow palette was the Queen of Hearts. And I believe that debuted at $50. And $50 is a lot of money. I know in today's age, a lot of brands now, you know, Huda, even ABH, the prices have gone up as the price of everything has. So $50 I don't think is as much a sticker shock as it was then. I still think $50 is a lot, but not as much of a sticker shock as it was then. So I think that was the first problem. And when they first came out with their 6-pan eyeshadow palettes at $36, it was too much money. It was people were looking at giving them the side eye. I know I was like, no. And I think since then, she's realized that, the owner Lorraine has realized that. And then the lack of releases, and I know it's strange or maybe odd to say lack of releases now today when so many people feel like these makeup brands are putting out too much too quickly, but I think for Coloured Raine, they don't put out a lot of products, and I think in terms of them, it's hurt them because oftentimes I've forgotten about them. I mean, I know they're around, but when you're competing with all these other brands that are putting out new stuff on a regular basis, you kind of get forgot. At least for me, I kind of forgot about them. When it's like, oh, Coloured Raine is coming out with something new, I'm not thinking about them because they haven't put out anything. So I think that has hurt them as well. And then when they have put out new stuff, it's kind of been a little head scratching. They're either kind of behind the trend or off into the woods somewhere. Like, for example, when they came out with their Book of Shadows at a time when eyeshadow palettes had really become the trend. I mean, I don't even see that slowing down right now, years later. But they came out with a Book of Shadows. Beautiful book, but hefty, thick, bulky, and it could house lots and lots of singles. But they put that out at a time where people were moving away from singles and moving towards eyeshadow palettes. And so that was a head scratcher for me even then. Like, that doesn't seem, that seems to be off the beaten trail here. So I think those types of decisions have hurt them as well. So last year, at the end of 2021, they did make an Instagram post talking about, well, asking people really what it is they're looking for, what it is that they want. And one of the things they said, the brand said, was that they're going to be lowering their prices. So I think they've definitely seen the light in terms of the price, and now lowering it is definitely going to help them. Lowering it and maintaining the same quality, which it appears that they have done. At the end of 2021, they put out new bronzers. And then in January, this year alone, we're only just in January, they've already put out a collection, 3 eyeshadow palettes with some lipsticks and liquid lipsticks. So already I feel like they have released more new makeup than they have in the last several years. So I think I don't know if that's going to continue as the year goes on, but definitely they've picked up their releases and the amount of releases. So that's great. So I feel like those two issues, they understand and they're all over. The third issue about what they're putting out, I think still remains to be seen, because this last collection, those last 3 eyeshadow palettes, for example, were pretty. They were neutral, but like, okay, they're alright. I think they're gonna appeal to a lot of people, but the 2 smaller, I think they were 6-pan eyeshadow palettes that they put out, they were kind of similar. So as someone who might be interested in the color story, I felt like the color stories were so similar that you would only need to buy one. And then they have a bigger neutral palette, which is a warm neutral palette, which is pretty, but again, you know, not anything new or different. So I'm really interested to see in what way, in which direction Colored Rain is going to go in terms of, are they gonna start getting on the glow up here? Are they gonna get people excited? Or are they going to go more towards the downturn where people are gonna start to write them off like, okay, I mean, they're there, they exist, but are they really gonna thrive? So very interested to see what they do next. Brand number 2, Anastasia Beverly Hills. Now, ABH, which is how I'll refer to them. ABH came out of the block with eyebrow products, which made a lot of sense because Anastasia is well known for doing eyebrows, for maintaining, for sculpting eyebrows. She does them for celebrities, so she had made a name for herself in that niche particularly. So she started off with that, the Brow Wiz, so very popular right out the gate, successful. And then they started to expand. They started doing eyeshadow palettes, and I think their first palette, was it their first palette? Maybe it was just the first one I purchased from them, was the collaboration with Mario, Kim Kardashian's makeup artist, and they had the Modern Renaissance, which, oh my goodness, it's just it blew people's minds. It's plenty of people's favorite palettes to this very day. And the palettes were nice. They were pretty safe though. Everything they came out with was pretty safe. Appealed to the masses. Fairly neutral for your everyday makeup enthusiast, the woman that wants to go to work. Not much in terms of pops of color or anything like that. Just very neutral, very conservative, just safe. And then as time went on, maybe Anastasia wanted to step away a little bit from it. I don't know, but she allowed her daughter Norvina to get more involved in the brand and in the creative direction. And that's when things started to take a turn. But I was happy to see that the eyeshadow palettes were becoming more colorful, because as someone who's into colorful colors, oh, that was great. So I wasn't so crazy about all the neutral stuff. That didn't excite me. But then they started putting some color into the palettes. I think the Subculture palette was like, oh my goodness, just caused a stir, negative and positive. The color story was just grungy, which is something you had A, never seen from ABH, and B, hadn't seen from any mainstream brands really up until then. But it also came with its problems, because that's when they started putting pressed pigments into their eyeshadow palettes. And pressed pigments can be difficult to work with, especially if you are an amateur, if you're just an enthusiast, a makeup enthusiast, someone that likes to maybe put on a look for work, no fuss, no muss, something convenient and easy and quick. And pressed pigments, you need a little more skill in order to work with. So I think for the everyday average consumer makeup user like me, it was a problem. And so the eyeshadow palettes have become more colorful. The color stories have definitely moving away from the safe, neutral, mauve color stories. But they've also included a lot more pressed pigments. The Norvina, the whole Norvina palettes, they got even bigger. The palettes got bigger. That was a problem for some people. They didn't like it that big. They started, it was overwhelming for folks who are not pros when they open a palette that large and see all the different options. Kind of like you get overwhelmed about what to do. And then the majority, it seemed, of the palette were pressed pigments. That's what kept me away from buying the Norvina palettes for so long anyway. And then the fact that they were pumping out these palettes at what seemed like, well, definitely a record pace for ABH, because they had never put out products as often as they started doing. And some people didn't like it. A lot of people actually didn't like it. What they were coming out with was a stark departure from what the brand used to do, and then the amount that they were putting out, well, became a bit much for folks. So they ended the year, not on a great footing, I think, with their base, with their target audience. And I think maybe the problem was ABH was this aesthetic, Norvina was this aesthetic, and the two were just kind of like two different brands, but working under the one brand name. And I think people got confused. So they have, I think maybe Mama Anastasia has stepped back in. And this year, their last few releases have definitely gone back to safety. So they came out with I think it was a face palette, had eyeshadows and blush in it. Back to like the mauve rosy tones. They've come out now with a collection of lipsticks and lip liners, more neutral, more mauve, more pink, more rosy. Nothing too crazy. So it looks like they've really stepped back from the Norvina period, and they're back to the Anastasia, the original classic Anastasia Beverly Hills aesthetic. And I'm interested to see how people are going to respond. I think some people were very happy to see the lipsticks and the lip liners, and that they were nothing crazy. So I don't know how they've responded to the face palette. I didn't pick it up because, they're back to what I considered not that interesting. So I'm really interested to see where they go in 2022. Are they going to continue on this path of, more back down to conservative, more neutral, everyday type color stories and products? Or will they be mixing in, maybe slowly filtering in some of Norvina back into it? I don't know. I'm interested to see which way it's going to go. Another brand, number 3, that in my opinion is on the bubble is Too Faced. And Too Faced, for me, Too Faced is not a brand that I have really been thinking about, have really been checking for. Too Faced is a brand that I haven't really been thinking about or checking for in quite some time. They came out of the gate, I think, really doing really well. They got onto their chocolate bar palettes, eyeshadow palettes, which were a big thing back in the day. People still love their original chocolate bar palettes, myself included. And they really have, over the years, continued to run with that, with the packaging, the tin packaging, and the color stories, the neutral, warm neutral color stories. But I kind of feel like they have just gotten to a point where, in terms of their eyeshadow palettes, they're all just looking the same. They still have really nice complexion products, and it took them some years before they expanded their range that would allow more people of color, myself included, could try their stuff. So I mean, for the most part, they manufacture and they create for the masses. They put out for the majority of women that are looking for work looks, that are looking for neutral, that, you know, are not trying to do anything too too crazy. And they've done well. But I don't know, in the last several years, the packaging has, their packaging and like their whole vibe has gotten juvenile but sexual. So you'll have like the teddy bear, B-A-R-E palette, and it's you'll have a teddy bear on the front, but the innuendo is, the suggestion is something sexual about it. And you'd have these palettes with unicorns and puppies on it, and just like stuff like, as a grown woman, I'm not trying to purchase or whip out in public something that looks like it was made, the packaging looks like it was made from a 14-year-old. You know what I mean? So that's, for me, is when they really I started to lose interest in them. And then the whole sexual vibe and how the two just don't mesh. It's not a good fit. It doesn't fit at all. And then the brand owner, what is his name? Gerard, is just, he doesn't seem like someone I would ever want to get to know. So he's had his own scandals. I think the sister too. So they've been caught up in some scandals, and yeah. So I feel like right now, where are they headed in 2022? Are they going to keep trying to ride this like pumpkin spice, extra pumpkin spice, like this warm neutral eyeshadow theme, or are they going to try something new, go in a different direction, bring out something different? Because what they've been doing, it's all pretty much looked the same. It's all looked the same. And are they going to put down the juvenile sexual innuendo packaging and just get back to normal? At this point, I would consider something more normal. So, you know, interested to know your thoughts about Too Faced, and what do you think they'll be doing in 2022? Are they going to be going on the glow up, or are they going to be going on the downturn? Okay, brand number 4, Morphe. Now, I don't keep up with Morphe. Morphe is not a brand that, I can't remember the last time I purchased anything from Morphe. When I was first starting out in makeup, I picked up some of their brushes because they were talked about a lot on YouTube. And I was just getting started. I didn't really know what I was doing. So, you know, they're inexpensive. The brushes were very inexpensive. And I think they were natural hair too, or a lot of them are natural hair. And there still today, there are folks that swear by Morphe brushes, love their brushes, and continue to buy them, and pretty much exclusively buy them because they love the quality and the price point. For me, once I branched out and started trying other brushes, for me the quality was just not there. So yeah, and I've never purchased an eyeshadow palette from Morphe. Yeah, I don't I think that's it. Years ago, I bought some brushes, and most of those, I think all but one or two of those have, maybe all but one, have been decluttered. So Morphe is definitely a brand I have not checked for in many years, but a lot of people loved Morphe, right? They love the price point, they love the products, and they love that they partnered with a lot of their favorite YouTubers, the big YouTubers, the big popular YouTubers. They align themselves very closely with them, and a lot of people loved it. They loved that this brand that they love partnered with these YouTubers, influencers that they loved, and it was a match made in heaven. But more recently, in the last couple of years, the people that they have aligned themselves with so tightly have fallen from grace themselves, and in doing so they have brought Morphe down along with them. So you have James Charles and Jeffree Star and Jaclyn Hill, and you know, these people that have had their own scandals, much of which didn't have anything to do with Morphe, but because Morphe aligned themselves so tightly with them, partnering with them with products, with eyeshadow palettes, pretty much these influencers became the face of Morphe, really. And now that those folks have gone down in public favor themselves, Morphe has kind of gone down with them. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go in 2022. Now that the people that have really helped to build them are not so loved or anymore. I mean, they're still popular, like they still have millions of subscribers, but definitely there are a lot more people giving them the side eye now than originally, and therefore giving Morphe the side eye. And also Morphe was coming out with their big palettes that are they all look the same. Remember those big like 35S, those big black palettes, cheaply made, cheaply packaged, but very affordable. They all started just looking the same. Like, how many big palettes can you put out with just different shades of brown and beige? So I think people started to get a little tired of that, although in more recent years they've definitely switched it up and got more colorful. But again, I'm interested to see where they're going to be in 2022 and which direction they go. Are they going to be able to get back into the good graces of their target audience, or are they going to find that they don't know who they are without aligning themselves with some kind of public personality already established in the beauty community? So I'm interested. Probably not going to buy anything, but I'm interested just to see if they're able to turn it around. And my last brand, number 5, might be surprising to you, but you know, stay with me. It is Glamlite. Now, I know you're thinking Glamlite on the bubble, because Glamlite is very popular, and I agree, they're very popular. I just actually bought a palette from them for the very first time last year, but they've been a popular brand. It's funny because they have taken an idea of food and they have run with it, but because they're so devoted to that aesthetic and to that idea, they have really put a lot of thought, and you can tell thought and effort and work into cultivating and building their brand. And it's been popular, it's worked for them. So they're really known for their eyeshadow formula, but their theme, their packaging, it's all around food, tacos and burgers. And they don't just put out a taco palette, they have it shaped like a taco, they have the pictures of it inside. The eyeshadow names are all related, like they're really into their theme. And the burger palette is shaped like a burger. It comes in paper like you would get it like in an In-N-Out burger or something. Like, they really commit. The pizza palette comes in a pizza box. Okay, so they are all in, and I love it. I think it's super cute. I think it's appealed to a lot of people, and they've really done well, and they've backed it up with the quality of their eyeshadow formula. So they've done really well, and definitely a brand that's been on the glow up. But now I'm just wondering, how much further can you, how far can you go with that theme? And now there's plenty of food out there, so you could definitely do a lot with the food theme, but is your audience going to continue to follow you there? For example, I watched a lot of declutter videos, eyeshadow palette declutter videos, because I love them. I love it. And I saw a lot of people decluttering their Glamlite palettes, and not because they're of poor quality, but because the color stories were kind of redundant, because most of their palettes were rainbow palettes, really. And then because of the packaging, there's a lot of people who are initially just turned off from the packaging and won't buy it. And then others who so love the color story and think the packaging is cute, but it's inconvenient, it's bulky, it's oddly shaped, it's difficult to store, it's hard to travel with. So that's been an issue for folks, and I think it's kept some folks from trying them. Their most recent release was a collaboration with Michaela, and that palette came in a definitely more standard type of palette. Still a little extra with the glitter inside, but more of a standard type shape and look to it. And then they came out with their Cocktail Hour collection, which was a big hit. I think it was 4 palettes, again around a theme, this time of cocktails, monochromatic palettes, with a good formula that people really seem to enjoy and really love. So I guess I'm just curious to see where they go here in the new year. Are they going to continue on this food and drink theme, and how successful are they going to be with it, or are people going to tire of it and want something new, something different from them? So I'm also with the color stories too. I'm interested to see what they'll do in terms of color stories, because I feel like they've done the rainbow palette to death at this point. So I'm interested to see where they go and what direction they go in 2022. Let me know in the comments below, what are some brands that you consider to be bubble brands on the bubble? Which brands are you interested to see which way they're going to go in 2022? Are they going to be going upwards on the glow up, or are they going to be taking a downward trend on the downturn? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.